Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. As SummerSlam inches nearer and nearer, I would like to welcome all of you to the Lightning Flash update to start your August 11th, 2017 weekend. And of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy himself, and the only wrestling news source that you need. This week for wrestling, if you really want to get my opinion on this, I'm going to flat out say it was very lackluster. Very, very lackluster week for wrestling. It had its moments here and there, but in the overall scheme of things, it was a big letdown. And it was mainly due to the lack of creativity in the WWE, and, you know, what else is new? So, Monday Night Raw this week started off with Miz TV, obviously kicked off with the Intercontinental Champion, the Miz Trials. Kurt Angle comes out, and he says Jason Jordan will not attend Miz TV after Miz called out Jason Jordan, introduced Brock Lesnar. Miz talked some shit down to Brock Lesnar, basically stated, when you leave WWE, I'm going to do this. Good riddance to bad rubbish. And then Paul Heyman said, let's do a little role play here. Miz, you could be Roman. Bo Dallas, you could be Samoa Joe. And Curtis Axel could be Braun Strowman. And then Brock Lesnar just suplex F5 the shit out of everyone. And Michael Cole uttered a fantastic line. And he said, he may be bad rubbish, but Lesnar just took out the trash. Something along the lines of that, and that was a fantastic line. Great on Michael Cole's part. Sheamus then defeated Seth Rollins. It was a decent match. And then the tag team champs attacked. Ambrose did not save Rollins. Then in a backstage segment, Ambrose and Rollins had an altercation, and Rollins basically stated he knows what it feels like to be alone. Ambrose still saying, I will not be burned by you again, and I'm going to go it alone tonight against Cesaro like I have always done. Jason Jordan then defeated a local athlete. Obviously, this was a mistake because the athlete was from the Canadian area. And I don't really know where they're going with Jason Jordan at this point. I get that he's supposed to be pushed into an Intercontinental title program, but how do you really expect him to get over if he's still defeating jobbers? Like a Jean-Pierre Goulou, or like whatever the hell his name was. That was a bad decision on WWE's part. Bayley then addressed her injury. People booed, and to be quite honest, I was actually disappointed in Toronto, but I get why they were doing that. And there was a report going backstage that Vince reportedly was furious, but then again, Vince, you only have yourself to blame. You booked your character that way. You dug your own grave, now you gotta lie in it. I'm gonna state it time and time and again. So, then Sasha Banks defeated Emma and Alicia Fox in the first triple threat match, and then later on in the night, Nia Jax defeated Mickie James and Dana Brooke. It was a pointless set of triple threat matches to begin with. Pointless set of triple threat matches to begin with, mainly because we all knew who was going to win. If anything, I thought that they would have gone with Sasha Banks and Emma. I thought that they would have put Emma in the triple threat match with Nia Jax, have Nia Jax basically do all the work, and then Emma steals it. But it turns out, all you get for posting a hashtag and getting your opinions out there on Twitter is a straight burial by the WWE officials. Nothing new here. Same old, rinse and repeat, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this resulted in Nia Jax, Sasha Banks next week. We all knew that was going to happen. Nobody cares. Moving on, the club defeated Big Show and Enzo Amore when Big Cass came out and distracted them. Then he got knocked out by the Big Show again. This led to an altercation backstage with Kurt Angle. And now we have the match that nobody wants to see, but with a little twist. And possibly one of the only things that is going to suck about SummerSlam. For now. Now I say one of the only things that's going to suck about SummerSlam, mainly because of the fact that SummerSlam looks like a very stacked card, and if things are done right, and I'm talking about the outcomes mostly, then SummerSlam could turn out to be the best pay-per-view of the year. SummerSlam could very well turn out to be the best pay-per-view of the year if things are done right. But absolutely nothing good can come out of Big Cass versus The Big Show at SummerSlam with Enzo in a shark cage. Finn Balor then addressed Bray Wyatt, saying when fear comes knocking on your door, you stand your ground and kick fear right in the face. This led to Bray Wyatt trying to attack Finn Balor, but Finn Balor psyched him out. He was sitting on the top turnbuckle, and Wyatt was laughing, saying, I like it, man, I like it. He was laughing at the fact that Finn Balor was playing mind games with him. This has actually been a very intriguing program. Then, when Finn was about to dropkick Wyatt into the corner, or go for the coup de grace, I can't remember which one it was exactly, Wyatt then disappears, and then he goes, yeah, I could see why these people like you, because they live vicariously through you and all that other good stuff. And then he tells Finn to run. I thought it was a very intriguing little segment. And that resulted in Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor being confirmed for WWE SummerSlam, in which I believe the Demon will return. Finn Balor will return. However, I do think that Bray Wyatt is going to come out with the victory based on the reports that Bray Wyatt is going into a main event program after SummerSlam. Dean Ambrose then defeated Cesaro. It was a hard-hitting match, indeed. A damn good hard-hitting match, as I was expecting it out of those two. Dean Ambrose and Cesaro, fantastic in the ring together. Seth Rollins then came out to save Ambrose after Ambrose was being attacked after the match. Ambrose then offered the truce by putting the Shield Fist Jester out to Seth Rollins as Canada is doing yes chants. They were getting ready to blow the roof off the building, and then Seth Rollins walked off. Where is this going? This is very intriguing. This is one of the most intriguing angles in WWE right now that's not really part of NXT. So I'll give props to Ambrose and Rollins for putting on a fantastic angle on Raw, no less. Akira Tozawa then defeated Arya Daivari. Obviously, Akira Tozawa is continuing to build momentum toward his Cruiserweight Championship match with Neville, and they had another altercation on 205 Live, which I will talk about later. Braun Strowman then defeated Roman Reigns in a fantastic last man standing match. Those two yet again put on another clinic in what has been a fantastic rivalry. Without a doubt, Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman has been the best rivalry in modern day WWE. And Braun Strowman won after Samoa Joe locked the Coquina clutch in on Roman Reigns from behind the barricade like he was a fan, and then he stepped over the barricade while keeping the Coquina clutch intact. Reigns passed out. Strowman stood to his feet, and that was it. So they've done a fantastic job building towards this Fatal 4-Way match, and I believe that that Fatal 4-Way match could very well be a Match of the Year contender. Overall, Monday Night Raw had its good spots. The Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt spot was good. Ambrose versus Cesaro was good. Strowman and Reigns was fantastic. The opening segment was great. Other than that, no one else cared. No one else cared for anything else on the show. Raw was the better show this week. SmackDown Live, I don't know what the hell they're doing with SmackDown Live. I really don't. I miss the old SmackDown Live. I miss the SmackDown Live Wild Card Finals. I miss No Mercy. I miss the Elimination Chamber. I miss the fact that SmackDown was so unpredictable and you didn't know what was going to happen next. Now it's like SmackDown is a shell of what it once was. We all know whose fault that is. But then again, I don't want to get into a rant about that because, quite frankly, I just want to keep this show simple, sweet, and to the point. SmackDown Live this week kicked off with John Cena praising Nakamura for the match that they had last week, in which was a very good match. John Cena showed his respect to Nakamura. Baron Corbin then interrupted. Cena then took a fans' signs phrase from out of the crowd that said, Baron Corbin is a dumpster fire. And I basically said, hashtag dumpster fire is trending worldwide. and basically everybody was saying it. Daniel Bryan then came out and made Baron Corbin versus Cena at SummerSlam. I am not against it. I'm not against that because, truth be told, if they are going to make Baron Corbin a star, if they are going to really make Baron Corbin a star, SummerSlam should be his big day. Now he's got a match with Cena. He wins his match with Cena, cashes in, and makes it a triple threat match between himself, Mahal, and Nakamura, and then wins the championship. That would be probably one of the biggest crowning achievements that anybody could ever accomplish in the WWE. Especially for Baron Corbin. Because Baron Corbin, he has been well overdue for a championship reign. Everybody thought he was going to win the Intercontinental Championship at Mania, and then all of a sudden Dean Ambrose beat him, and we're like, what the hell just happened? Why would they do that to Baron Corbin? But now I think SummerSlam might be Baron Corbin's big day. Although the reports going around are not really saying the same. But we're going to see what happens. I'm not going to discredit the reports, but I'm not going to discredit WWE's booking decisions either, even though they suck. The Usos then defeated Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger. It was a decent match. Usos then cut a promo, in which led to the New Day returning, and they showed a more aggressive side when they attacked the Usos with steel chairs, leading up to their SmackDown Live Tag Team title rematch, which I believe will be the final encounter between these two at SummerSlam. Welcome to the Fashion Peaks had its second part this week, in which Tyler Breeze started off interviewing The Ascension, and The Ascension basically just came for the pie. Came for the pie, took the pie, that was it. Fandango returned with his tie around his head, took a sip of the coffee, spit it out, said, "That's a damn good cup of coffee, Breeze." And then he basically stated that aliens kidnapped him and he could leave whenever they want. He could have left whenever he wanted, and they gave him an ability to see into the future. He said, "The next person that walks through that door is the one who destroyed Tully the horse." And Arn Anderson came through and he said, "You damn right I destroyed Tully." And he took the donuts with him. Took some of the donuts that were on the table next to him. But they still haven't found who the attackers were. Still have not found out who the attackers were. But by the looks of things, it looks like they're saving the identity of the attackers for SummerSlam. Because we still don't know who trashed the office or who attacked Tyler, this and that. It's like they got multiple angles going at once within this one Fashion File skit. But we haven't really had a definite attacker or attackers. But I think we might get that at SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair defeated Lana. Nobody cared. The only thing that people cared about is Lana pulling Charlotte's trunks down. And yes, I mentioned that. But anyway, that led to Charlotte Flair defeating Lana, blah, blah, blah. But the best part of the match was Charlotte's ass exposed to the crowd. We all know that. And then that led to a segment backstage where Tamina and Lana were talking, blah, blah, blah. And Tamina wants a title shot. It's probably going to happen after SummerSlam. Nobody cares. The women on SmackDown Live and the women in general in WWE have been made to look like idiots. They've been made to look like idiots. Even the good ones, even Bayley, even Alexa, even Becky, even Charlotte. They've been made to look like complete idiots. Especially Carmella. And I'm going to get into that later. But then the altercation between Shane McMahon, AJ Styles, and Kevin Owens then took place after that travesty of a match. Shane basically explained the U.S. title match rules. He's going to be impartial. Owens then mentioned the Montreal Screwjob, and he mentioned SummerSlam 1998 when Shane McMahon screwed Stone Cold out of the WWE Championship and flipped the bird. This led to Shane McMahon AJ Styles and Kevin Owens fighting, which led to AJ accidentally Pele kicking Shane. So you can imagine there's going to be some tension going around. And I do have a report, actually, which I'm going to get into now. And the rumors going around that WWE might be planning the Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens angle to go into Survivor Series, and we might have a Team KO versus Team Shane 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series tag team match at Survivor Series. I am not against that. I think it would be very interesting. Carmella then defeated Naomi after James Ellsworth returned from suspension. If James Ellsworth was going to help Carmella win, why didn't she just blatantly say, I'm cashing in Money in the Bank right then and there? And then James Ellsworth could have interfered, and we could have had a new SmackDown Women's Champion. Makes absolutely no sense. Moving on. Shinsuke Nakamura then had an interview backstage in which he basically stated, John Cena's been the guy. John Cena's been the guy, but I was able to defeat him. And Jinder Mahal, you better watch out because at SummerSlam, the Shinsuke Nakamura dynasty begins. I like that line. I like the Shinsuke Nakamura dynasty. It has a nice ring to it. And then the main event, Randy Orton then defeated WWE Champion Jinder Mahal for the first time. This was their best match, ironically. This was the best match that they've put on together. And dare I say it? Dare I say it? They could have put this match on the past couple of pay-per-views that they were scheduled for. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? They were saving it for a random episode of SmackDown Live. It almost seems like with every SmackDown Live, the matches on SmackDown Live actually tend to be a bit more entertaining than the matches on pay-per-view. Happened with Shinsuke and Corbin. Happened with AJ and Owens. Now it happened with Orton and Mahal. Who is booking the matches on SmackDown Live? I have an idea. It's probably Road Dogg, Brian James. Bro, leave. Your time has passed. You're not creative. You're not original. You do not belong on SmackDown Live. In the booking realm. And the creative writing realm. And then after the match, Rusev attacked Randy Orton to further promote their match at SummerSlam. 205 Live this week. I actually enjoyed 205 Live this week more than I did SmackDown. Tony Nese then defeated Cedric Alexander. I thought it was a decent match. Tony Nese and Cedric actually gelled very nice together, in my opinion. And I like the way that they've been presenting Tony Nese. I like that they've been utilizing him a bit more on SmackDown Live, and I do hope that he gets his rightful match for the Cruiserweight Championship sometime in the future. Jack Gallagher then attacked the Brian Kendrick backstage after Brian Kendrick was done with his interview, or during his interview rather, and he showed a bit more of an aggressive side. He actually taped his wrist up with black tape. I've never seen Jack Gallagher do that before. I'm actually liking this new aggressive side of Jack Gallagher, and I hope it leads somewhere. So then, I believe Noam Dar defeated Mark Thomas before the altercation with Tozawa. So yeah, Noam Dar defeated a local athlete in Mark Thomas. Good for Noam Dar, but where's this heading? It almost seems like you have like 3 or 4 feuds between a couple of guys in on 205 Live. You got Gallagher and Brian Kendrick. You got Nese and Cedric. So I assume that they're going into a feud now. You got Rich Swann and TJP, and now you got Akira Tozawa and Neville. Where's everybody else? Lindsay Dorado's floating around. Gulak's floating around. Grand Metalik's floating around. Mustafa Ali's floating around. Noam Dar's floating around. What are they going to do with these guys? Put the cruiserweights in what's the word that I'm looking for? You can make cruiserweight tag team titles. That would give some of these guys something interesting to do. Be a little more creative with the division, WWE. Come on. And then after the Noam Dar match, Akira Tozawa had a sit-down interview with Corey Graves. Neville interrupted, and Tozawa basically said, I got a question for you, Neville. Before you say anything else, how are you going to feel when I beat you for the Cruiserweight Championship? This led to Neville getting kicked by Tozawa, and I believe he almost got the patented diving senton delivered to him, but he was able to scurry out of the way, and Tozawa held up the Cruiserweight Championship high as Neville was running away. And then in the main event, which was a very good match, TJP defeated Rich Swann with a detonation kick. And then Rich Swann said backstage, when TJP was trying to say, it's a joke, you know who I am, Rich Swann said, I'm starting to realize who you really are. So I'm actually interested to see where this friendly competition goes. They've been putting on some great matches, and I believe that if you give these guys a stipulation, that they can put on an even better match. And then NXT this week, this was my favorite show, obviously, because NXT is NXT. Started off with Sanity attacking the Authors of Pain. Eric Young then returned, and they basically just laid out Akam and Razar, and then they held the NXT Tag Team titles up high. I am very much looking forward to this Tag Team title match in Brooklyn. The Street Profits then made their debut, and it was fantastic against the Metro Brothers. They bring a lot of charisma. They bring a lot of charisma to the tag team division. Montez Ford brings the quickness. He brings the dives. He brings the, oh my God moments. And meanwhile, Angelo Dawkins, he brings a bit more of the power, and he has a bit more charisma with the, the stir it up gesture. I think that these guys are going to be over by TakeOver Philadelphia. And I'm very much looking forward to watching the Street Profits on NXT. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode then had a face-to-face confrontation. Bobby said, no, Drew, this is my NXT, and I am going to run this place and be NXT champion for however long I want to. Drew McIntyre says, Bobby, you think you're up here, you think you're a god, you're up in the atmosphere, but nothing's going to stop me from claymoring you right back down to earth and taking the NXT title. Roderick Strong then interrupted, and he basically stated, Bobby, this is not about the NXT Championship. This is not about TakeOver Brooklyn. This is about you disrespecting me as a man and disrespecting my family. Bobby said, yeah, you want to go? Yeah, you and me. We're going to fight. No title, no Brooklyn. You and me, we're going to fight. But you got to go through McIntyre first. And the match was made next week. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Roode. And next week, if Roddy wins, he will get Roode in a match after TakeOver Brooklyn. And I think that this little story, main event storyline that they got going between Roderick Strong, Bobby Roode, and Drew McIntyre could lead to a triple threat match at NXT TakeOver Houston on Survivor Series weekend, which would be fantastic. Johnny Gargano said in a backstage interview that he wanted a match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And he got his answer later in the night. But before he got his answer, Danny Burch defeated Oney Lorcan in a hard-hitting match. They shook hands. And I believe that the rubber match between these two, or however many matches these two are going to put on for the next couple of weeks or months, is going to be fantastic. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, they gel very nicely together, and I'm glad that Danny Burch actually got the victory over Oney Lorcan. And then in the main event, Andrade Cien Almas defeated No Way Jose. Zelina Vega was basically saying, you got to be all business. You got to finish him. No more this El Idolo Tranquilo stuff. And Andrade Cien Almas got the victory. Zelina Vega then called out Johnny Gargano and said, he's got an opponent for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I like the ending. Now then, time to get into the news, rumors, and reports section of this video. Slice Wrestling was very active this week on social media. He basically stated in a couple of tweets that Shinsuke Nakamura is now expected to walk out of SummerSlam as the WWE Champion. However, there have been no reports of Corbin cashing in during the match or after the match. So this seems very interesting. Maybe SummerSlam is not Corbin's big night. We're going to have to wait and see. He also reported that WWE officials are extremely happy and surprised by the success of Breezango that a major push after SummerSlam is being considered. It's about damn time. It's about damn time that Fandango and Tyler Breeze got the proper push, and I really do hope that it comes true. I really want to see these guys as SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. And finally, Slice Wrestling also reported that NXT might be discussing forming the Red Dragon Tag Team consisting of Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, two former Ring of Honor superstars, and we could very well see a Ring of Honor superstar stable, including whoever else may sign from Ring of Honor to NXT. Adam Cole is one of them. He's floating around there. It would be, it would really be the cherry on top of the cake. If they do form this Ring of Honor stable, it would really be the cherry on top of the cake if we see Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Do I think it's going to happen? It's highly unlikely, but I pray to God that we see Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Somewhere in the crowd. I don't care where. Skybox, front row, midway. I don't give. I want to see Adam Cole watching NXT TakeOver. Pro Wrestling Sheet then reported that Scott Dawson could be seriously injured. I have heard no further reports on this, except that there may be a partial tear in one of his biceps, and it is unclear if he will require surgery. The surgery maybe, I'm not sure how to put this into words, but I believe the surgery may keep him out of action until the Royal Rumble. I really didn't want to say that because this sucks. This really does suck for the Revival in general, especially since Dash Wilder just came back from a jaw injury. The Revival, they have been a fantastic heel tag team in NXT, and now all of a sudden they get to the main roster, and they're still undefeated. They're still undefeated, but the fact that they haven't really done anything relevant, and they were supposed to go into a match with the Hardys at SummerSlam, which I will talk about later. It really does suck. Because you think about what Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder have done in NXT, how they defeated some of the most beloved tag teams in NXT history, Enzo and Cass, Vaudevillains, American Alpha. They became the first ever two-time NXT Tag Team Champions, and then they had the match of the year with DIY. And it really does suck for them to be promoted to the main roster and all of a sudden everything's just falling apart. But when Scott Dawson does come back, I wish him the best of luck. And I really do hope that him and Dash Wilder win the Raw Tag Team titles sometime next year. That's if he has surgery. I really hope it's just a partial tear. Because if it is just a partial tear, it is said he'll be out for probably 4 to 6 weeks. So then Sports Illustrated's Justin Barascio, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. If that's how you pronounce it, please let me know. He reported that Enzo Amore broke locker room etiquette. He broke one of the locker room rules and displayed poor etiquette after bringing a series of questionable guests into the locker room. And the guests were seen recording videos and taking pictures with the wrestlers and sending them out online. Enzo, what are you doing? What are you doing, Enzo? I realize you're mad that Vince McMahon broke up the tag team between you and Cass, and you have every right to be mad. Because Vince McMahon is a senile retard. We all know this, Enzo. Big Cass, you're still his friend backstage. Aren't you supposed to be looking out for him? This may be, and this is not a report anywhere, but this could very well be the reason why they broke Enzo and Cass up to begin with. Because they want to get Big Cass away from Enzo because he thinks he's a bad influence. What are you doing, Enzo? You're one of the most beloved superstars on the WWE roster. And you're doing all of this crap backstage that is going to mess up your career and destroy your livelihood. You do not have to like Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn's booking decisions, and you shouldn't. Nobody should. They're senile retards. But when the laws are laid down in the locker room, you have to abide by them, respect them, and obey them, or else you are going to get yourself fired. And if Enzo does not shape up, and I love the guy for who he is. I love the guy for who he is. But he's really got to shape up. Enzo, I pray to God that you're watching this. You really got to shape up. Wrestling Observer Newsletter then reported that nobody backstage except Brock Lesnar will know about the finish to the Fatal 4-Way match until last minute. And the reason why Lesnar is going to be notified of the finish, because his contract allows him to know about match finishes in advance. Also, WWE is working very diligently to keep the finish for that match a secret from all the dirt sheets. They don't want it to get out to anyone, and I do like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. I'm glad that they're doing this because, to be quite honest, when you have a big matchup like that, you want it to be unpredictable. You don't want people to know about the finishes, whether it be the dirt sheets or the superstars. As Stone Cold said, DTA, don't trust anybody. However, I don't agree with the fact that Lesnar's contract has a clause where he can know about match finishes in advance. That's basically putting him on a pedestal. Backstage, I'm talking about. You can put him on a pedestal on TV, figuratively, all you want. But you shouldn't place anybody above anybody as far as the locker room goes. As far as backstage politics goes. Now, moving on, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Wrestling, Ronda Rousey will begin her training for pro wrestling with the Brian Kendrick. I am not sure when this is going to take place, but I did hear from Fightful Wrestling that it will happen. This is a rumor floating around there by Sean Ross Sapp. Do I think that Ronda Rousey will favor good in the WWE? Possibly. Possibly, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of effort to transition from MMA or UFC over to wrestling. Wrestling Zone then confirmed that Scott Dawson's injury was the reason why the Hardys were not on Raw this week, because the storyline going into SummerSlam was going to lead to another match between the two, but the plans have been scrapped and WWE might replace the Revival with the Club. According to Wrestle Talk News, WWE has indeed signed Lio Rush, and he will start his NXT career very, very soon. And I am extremely happy for Lio Rush because I saw him wrestle down in Hasbrook Heights for GCW. Great independent promotion. I couldn't be any more happier for the man, and I wish him the best of luck in his NXT career. Dave Meltzer reported that Goldust will more than likely be taking over the role of a manager. He might unveil his newest ally at SummerSlam, or he could just be scouting someone. That's what the little promo on Raw was all about. The beginning of this storyline was teased this week, just like I said, and the company's thinking of using Goldust and his mic skills to elevate another wrestler. I'm not against this. I am not against this whatsoever. However, who the hell is he going to choose? Are they going to bring up an NXT superstar and put him with Goldust? I wouldn't agree with that, because when you got NXT superstars, they can make it on their own. They don't need a manager, unless of course they're Asuka, who can't speak English very good. Shinsuke Nakamura and Hideo Itami, they have done decent with their English, but Asuka, she kind of rubs people the wrong way when she speaks a bit of English. So I highly suggest that they give Asuka a manager, but it should not be Goldust. I think Asuka would do great with Paul Heyman as her manager. And finally, the final rumor and report that I have today, according to Cage Side Seats, WWE officials have the intention of bringing back Taboo Tuesday and revitalizing the concept as an episode of SmackDown, similar to what they did last year on the final SmackDown of 2016 in the Wild Card Finals. The concept could be used in a similar way as last year's Wild Card Finals, possibly for the last SmackDown Live of 2017. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. Thank you to all who tuned into this video. Do not forget to like, to comment, to subscribe, by the way, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. I'm going to be getting 2 rundowns in next week. That's right, 2. One for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and one for I almost said NXT TakeOver Brooklyn a second time, and one for SummerSlam. I sent out a poll. Should I do a rundown for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn? You guys voted yes. Obviously, you already know. Follow me on Instagram at DDog316. Follow me on Twitter at #1 WWE fan. Keep a close eye out for the 2nd edition of the Eye of the Storm. I have gotten in contact with that former WCW and WWE superstar, and I am hopefully I will be getting him on this channel next week, because like I said, you never know where I'm going to show up and who I might bring along. Till next time, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. I'll catch you next week.